Hello and welcome to Fossil Arcade.
This video will be looking at records produced by Datadiscs, the first record label dedicated to releasing classic video game music on vinyl.
Even among long-time video game fans, collecting soundtracks as physical media is not very common.
A soundtrack is usually the type of thing you would only see in a special edition release, not something you would see on store shelves.
However, owning a video game soundtrack on vinyl is not a new thing, with releases going back as far as the 90s in Japan, where soundtrack collecting is more common.
Additionally, bootleg record producers have been publishing unlicensed releases of popular titles for years.
Before I get into my own opinions, it's worth noting I'm not the most high-level record collector.
My stereo setup is not the best or most technical, and my enjoyment of this music is mostly casual.
However, every sample of music you hear in this video will be recorded from my own copies of the data discs.
So you can hear what these records sound like directly. Streets of Rage, Datadisc's first record, released in 2015. Right away the company set a high standard for itself, working with original composer Nozu Koshiro to remaster each track individually, ensuring the best possible reproduction.
The Sega Mega Drive was built with 7 audio channels for composing music and sound effects. These allowed Koshiro to closely imitate the sound of early 90s techno music, which was very new to Japan at the time.
This is a soundtrack with true energy, but while complex and fast-paced, I actually find it quite relaxing background music. Both sequels have been released since, which include the work of additional composer Motohiro Kawashima. Streets of Rage 2 even contains some rare unheard alternative and prototype tracks. Playing all three back to back, the evolution of the series is inescapable, building upon itself more and more until the original score sounds timid by comparison to Rage 3's most aggressive tracks. In a statement included with the third release, Yuzo Koshiro comments that the soundtrack was received poorly by fans, but that he's humbled now by the influence it has had.
Personally, I definitely prefer 1 and 2, with 3 being a bit too much to handle, but it's a nice set to have regardless. For each record, the original music is sourced differently, depending on what hardware was used to create it, what samples are available, and which composers were involved.
For Shinobi III, the music is recorded directly from a Japanese Model 1 Mega Drive, which uses a different PSG chip to the Model 2. This soundtrack has the trademark Mega Drive sound lifted by Eastern traditionalism. With its strong melodic nature, Shinobi III seems to capture the musical sound of sneaking one moment, then attacking the next. This series was part of the long reinvention of the ninja, from terror assassin to action hero, this installment being perhaps the strongest example of that, both visually and audibly. Each release also includes some additional material, such as artwork prints taken from their original sources. In fact, the Datadiscs edition of the Sonic Mania soundtrack includes some original artwork exclusive to the record release. Sonic Mania composer T. Lopes did an amazing job of emulating an authentic 90s Sega sound, and the depth of the music is really present in the vinyl.
So far, this is the only album the label have published for a new game, albeit a very retro one.
However, the record is only a single disc, collecting all the brand new tracks from Mania, but none of the remixes from the game's classic stages.
I'd love to see a second volume release including all of those tracks, or for that matter, any of the Mega Drive Sonic games by Datadiscs. On top of the impressive artwork and occasional use of rare audio materials, Datadiscs also create a special edition of each record release.
These are really spectacular and offer another example of the expertise going into every record release. Just be aware that these are easily missed as they often sell out in a matter of hours.
So far, the Datadiscs catalogue is almost exclusively Sega based, with only one outsider being Metal Slug by SNK.
Rocket Launcher!
One thing I love about this record is the inclusion of the vocal sound effects before a couple of the tracks, something I would have welcomed more of.
Saying that, Datadiscs do include sound effects on their records in the form of locked grooves.
These are closed loops at the end of a record, designed to stop the arm of the record player drifting onto the label after the final track has ended, but most modern record players have an automatically retracting arm, so it's not really a common problem.
The locked grooves are really the only thing I dislike about Datadiscs.
It's really annoying when one of these records gets into a loop if you're busy or engrossed in something else.
I've even considered scratching my own records so I don't have to get up. Of course, Datadiscs is not the only label in the world putting out video game soundtracks.
The American creative outlet Mondo, which began producing t-shirts and posters, has also been publishing rare scores and soundtracks on vinyl since 2011. They seem to have cornered the market for Konami releases such as Contra and Castlevania. Despite becoming something of a forgotten franchise in recent years, Castlevania has some of the best melodic themes in the 8 and 16-bit era. As a pseudo-remake to the original game, Super Castlevania IV has a healthy mixture of brand new tunes and updated pieces from previous games. This is the score which ultimately solidified the franchise's distinct sound which it's famous for.
Record collecting is a very interesting topic. For a physical medium which is outdated in so many ways, it still offers something unattainable through other forms of media, which is a feeling of authenticity. Datadiscs have taken something which other people were already doing and put a stamp of quality on it which is high even for record collecting, not just the video game side of things. The partnership between classic video games and this classical medium is surprisingly natural. It's a fantastic way to re-immerse yourself in a favourite game. I'm crossing my fingers all the time that the next release could be one of my favourite games, and Kabuki is hoping for Choo Choo Rocket in particular, aren't you? Definitely check out their website if you're interested, or visit their SoundCloud for more samples of their work.